What's up, guys? SAG here. Welcome to another video here of NFL Spread Talk. We have week number 5. I apologize for not doing the video for week 4, but I was really busy with time, so I posted the pics on Instagram. So we will see how we did. And let's just say we didn't have a good week. Unfortunately, it was pretty rough. Money picks we went 2-4. Average picks we went 3-5-1. In avoid picks, we went 1-1. We had 2 good wins later on, which I was the most confident in. The Chiefs bounced back, and then I picked the Rams, but then I changed my pick. I went to Instagram and just said, guys, this is a revenge game for the 49ers. They're going to win this game. I almost made it a money pick and changed it to that, but I just kept it an average pick. Changed it up, and the 49ers just came and dominated. This was a revenge game for them. They're at home. Jimmy Garoppolo showed up, and credits to them. That puts us for money picks for 10-14, for average picks for 15-8-2, and for avoid picks for 5-9. Not the greatest start to the season, but things aren't won in week 4. It's going to balance out with time, and we're going to start getting wins here, guys. Just give it some time. We're going to start winning. I know we are. So let's look at this slate for week 5. I'm pretty excited for that. I have 5 money picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 average picks, and 3 avoid picks. 1 total only this time, and it's an average pick. Last time we lost all our totals. That's really frustrating. So first game, we have the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday Night Football heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Colts are going to look to rebound from that 24-17 loss to the Tennessee Titans as they fell to 1-2-1 on the year. Ryan, he's been okay at best this year. He has 1,125 yards, 5 TDs, and 5 picks. Jonathan Taylor has 328 yards rushing, and Michael Pittman leads them on the receiving end. For Denver, they're going to be looking to respond from a loss as they lost to Vegas, and they're 2-2. Russell Wilson is thrown for 980 yards, 4 touchdowns and an interception, while Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams have combined for 343 yards rushing. But now Javonte Williams is out for the season with the knee injury, so the majority of the carries are going to go to Melvin Gordon III. Cortland Sutton leads them in receiving yards. They also have Jared Jeudy, and Josie Jewell has been really good. He has a team-high 23 tackles, while Bradley Chubb has 3 sacks. Indianapolis is 11-5 in their last 16 on the road against the spread, and 1-5 in their last 6, while the under is 9-0 in the last 9 games in this one. Denver is 2-6 in their last 8 against the spread, and 3-7 in their last 10 Week 5 matchups. Here, guys, I don't really know what to call. I think it's going to be a really close, low-scoring game. But if I had to take a side, I think Denver has a good game here. I think they break out. I know Russell Wilson isn't that good, but Denver's at home, and that's the biggest advantage. Indianapolis has to travel from Tennessee to Denver in 4 days rest in that altitude. Well, Denver, they go back to their home, and I think that's the biggest difference. I think that the spread is a bit much at 3.5. I'm always going to try to bring this down half a point. Buy half a point if you can so if they win by 3, you get the push. You get the money back. So I'm going to take Denver minus the 3, but I'm going to take it as an average pick. Next up, we have the Giants taking on the Packers. Packers are 8-point favorites. My goodness. So looking at the Giants, they started off the year with the Titans, then they took a loss. They started the year with 2 wins against the Titans and the Panthers. Then they lost to the Cowboys. But last week they looked pretty good. They put points up in every quarter. Jones, he didn't throw much, that's for sure, but he had 2 ground scores, and Saquon Barkley did most of the work. He had 146 yards on 31 carries. Now, we must note this is against the Bears, so if you can only put 20 points up against the Bears, there's some concerns. But on the Packers side, they haven't been much better themselves. I mean, they started on a low note against the Vikings, and then they got a nice win against the Bears, but they only went 14-12 against the Buccaneers. Now, against the Patriots, they went punch for punch in overtime, and they gave up 24 points to their backup quarterback. Rodgers, he had 251 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Well, Allen Lazard, he looked like the main target, him and Cobb and Dobbs. 6 catches for 116 yards. Now, Packers, they're 7-2 against the spread against the winning team, and 6-2 in the last 8 on turf. They're 11-4 against the spread against the NFC. Well, the Giants are 2-5 in their last 7 against the NFC. I just think the spread's way too high. I don't think the Packers are good enough to be copping 8 points. I think this is a game that's good enough for the Giants to cover. I'm going to take them at +8 here, and I'm going to make it an average pick because I don't fully trust the Giants, but I just think the Packers aren't that good. We saw it against the Patriots, and we saw it against the Bucs. They're not fully set, and they have some work to do. And this Giants defense isn't that bad at all. So I think the Giants can make this a decent game. Usually favorites cover here, but we saw against the Vikings that isn't necessarily fully true. So I think this game is a big game for the Giants. They're going to really play all out in this one, and they're going to make this close. So average pick, I'm taking the Giants +8. Next up, we have the Lions versus the Patriots. Patriots are 2.5 point favorites. As the Lions, I was at the game actually, and they're 1-3 right now after a 48-45 loss against Seattle. Jared Goff is playing lights out. He does have 3 interceptions, so they got to work on that. Jamal Williams had a great game last time. Swift, hopefully he can return. It looks like Amara St. Brown will return. TJ Hawkinson has been pretty good. Same with Josh Reynolds. This offense is really talented. On the defensive side, Malcolm Rodriguez is carrying it, and they got no defense. Let's just put it that way. Aiden Hutchinson hasn't been too bad. Man, they got some work to do on defense. You can't put up 48 points against Seattle. Now, we can take into effect that Jared Goff's interception was 7 of them, but that doesn't matter. You can't put up 41. You can't let Seattle put up 41 on you. That's just embarrassing. Looking at the Patriots, they're going to try to bounce back from their 1-3 start after a 27-24 loss against Green Bay. Mac Jones, he hasn't been good, but he's out. Bradley Zappi's going to take his place. They're going to rely probably on that run game with Damian Harris and Ramondre Steven. Well, Aguilar's having a good season. He has 225 receiving yards. On the defensive end, didn't play the greatest against the Packers, but it is the Packers. Juwan Bentley has a team high 25 tackles, and Judon has 4 sacks. Detroit's 4-1 against the spread in their last 6. They did lose last one, and New England is 28-10 against the spread against a team with a losing record. But here, guys, I think this is a money pick. That stat shows well. Detroit covers when they're underdogs, usually a lot of the time. And in this case, they're underdogs against a really bad New England team. They're not good. They don't have Mac Jones anymore, so now they have to run with this backup quarterback. And how am I supposed to say that this backup quarterback is going to outscore Jared Goff in a high-octane offense? Because no one's stopping that offense. They are just really, really good. So here, guys, I'm making this a money pick. I'm going to up the 2.5 by the half point. Just in case the Lions lose, they find a way to lose by 3, you get your money back. So I'm going to take the Lions +3. Maybe wait till it gets to 3 and then get 3.5, or get it at 3. But I'm taking the Lions +3, making a money pick right here. Next up, we have the Steelers against the Bills. Bills are 14-point favorites. I mean, the Steelers, they've lost 7 of their last 5. They're starting Kenny Pickett for this one. This is going to be quite an interesting one, I have to say. Really, they struggled last game against the Jets, and they lost. I mean, you lost to the Jets. That's a new low. Pat Freiermuth and Deontay Johnson have combined for 430 receiving yards. They have Pickens, Najee Harris. He's been decent running the ball. Miles Jack has led the Steelers with tackles. They really do miss T.J. Watt. Micah Fitzpatrick also has 3 picks. Buffalo, they won their last 4 home games. Josh Allen, he's completing 67.3% of his passes. They did have a tough one against Baltimore that was close. Stephon Diggs and Isaiah McKenzie have been pretty good. Singletary. Defensively, hopefully they get Poyer back and Micah Hyde. But we'll see about that. You got to check the injury report. Against the spread, the Steelers are 2-5 in their last 7 road games against the spread. The Bills are 4-0-1 in their last 5 home games against the spread. So this one's pretty interesting. I really want to take the Bills at home, but this number is way too high. 14 is a lot of points, so I'm just going to avoid this game. I think this is a bounce back game for the Bills, but I'm avoiding it. I just think it's too much. I think the Steelers can keep this reasonable. So I'm going to take an avoid pick here, and I'm taking the Steelers +14. Next up, we have the Dolphins, -3.5 against the Jets. Now, the Dolphins, they have lost 5 of their last 8 road games. Bridgewater is going to be playing this one. They do have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who look pretty decent against Cincinnati. And they have Raheem Mostert running the ball. Defensively, they're giving up 22.8 points per game. And Brendan Jones has led the team with 27 tackles. Melvin Ingram has 7 sacks, and Javon Holland has 1 interception. Now the Jets, they've lost 7 of their last 8 home games. Zach Wilson wasn't too bad last week, but he did throw 2 interceptions. Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson have combined for 516 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. They're okay. Defensively, they've allowed 25.3 points, 326.5 yards per game. C.J. Mosley has led this team with 41 tackles. Quentin Williams has 2.5 sacks, and Joyner has 2 interceptions. Dolphins are 0-4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games in October, and 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 overall. The Jets are 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 home games, so they haven't been really good. So, the Dolphins are 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 meetings in New York. For this one, guys, I think Vegas is underestimating Teddy Bridgewater. While he isn't going to do a lot, he's going to do enough because I still think this Jets team is really bad. I just think Pittsburgh is really bad too. Last time we got burned that way, and it was close. The Jets had to come back late to beat the Steelers. And this one, I think there's no coming back. When you have receivers like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert running the ball, you're going to be pretty sad. Defensively, they're not that bad of a team. They play pretty solid defense with Xavier Howard at the corner position. Guys, I'm taking Miami in a money pick. Get them at -3 so we can get that field goal. I just think they're going to pull it against the Jets. And the Jets at home they're not good. They usually do not cover at home. They're an easy fade team. Seems like MetLife is working against them. So I'm taking the Dolphins -3 here, making a money pick. I think this team is still really talented with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. He may not be Tua, but he's still a pretty solid quarterback. And, I mean, they have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Next up, we have the Falcons traveling to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are -8 here on the spread. Now, Atlanta, they have back-to-back wins over Cleveland and Seattle to put them at 2-2 this year. Mariota's been pretty solid. Drake London leads the receiving group, and Pitts and Zacchaeus have been really solid. Now on defense, Rashaan Evans has been pretty good. He has 35 tackles, and Grady Jarrett has 3.5 sacks. No Cordell Patterson, and that's pretty big. Losing their running back there, he's been carrying this team pretty well. Now Tampa Bay, they're going to rebound from back-to-back losses. They're 2-2 on the year. They had a tough one against Kansas City when they lost 41-31. Now on the positive end, Tom Brady and the offense looked pretty solid. Getting Godwin and Jones back was really good for him. Now Fournette, he had a team-high 224 rushing yards this season. Mike Evans played great. He was the main target against Kansas City. Now on the defensive end, they had a tough game last time, but I think they'll bounce back. That combination of Devin White and Levante David is really good, and Jamal Dean has a pair of interceptions. Guys, money pick. Tampa Bay, this is my strongest one. Tampa Bay -8 right here, guys. This is a bounce back game for Tampa Bay. And Atlanta's going to get a reality check sometime. Look at this stat. Atlanta's the only team undefeated against the spread. You think that's going to last? I think this is the game it gets puts to a close. People are going to ride on trends like that, and it's going to get defeated. Vegas is going to adjust, and this is why Tampa's not favored by more than 8 right now. So I think Tampa Bay bounces back. Tom Brady is really good when he has the proper receivers. He has Evans, Godwin, and Jones to him fully now. This is going to be a good game for Tom Brady to respond. And I think this Tampa Bay defense is going to give the Falcons really a reality check because they're still a good defense. Don't let it be wrong to you. Patrick Mahomes showed out for that game and played his A++ game to beat up on Tampa Bay because it was a revenge game. But Tampa Bay's defense is still really good, guys. They're really good. So, guys, money pick, my favorite pick of the week, Tampa Bay -8. Next up, we have the Seahawks, who are +5.5 against the Saints. Seahawks, they started on a positive ending against Denver. Week 2, they lost to the 49ers, and they lost to the Falcons. But this time, in this matchup, they played pretty well. They were up 24-15.5. Then they hung on for the 48-45 win. Geno Smith had 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, while Penny had 17 carries for 151 yards. Their offense showed up pretty well. And for the Saints, they have been sliding lately, to say the least. They had a win against the Falcons, and they lost 3 straight games against the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and then against the Vikings. Against the Vikings, they didn't have Kamara, they didn't have Thomas, and they didn't have Jameis Winston. Now, looking at the Seahawks, they're 4-0 in their last four in October, and 4-1 against the spread against a team with a losing home record on the road. For the Saints, they're 37-14 against the spread in their last 51 in October, and they're 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 at home. This is going to be quite interesting, but I think this 5.5 is a bit too much. I think Seattle can keep it a game. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Jameis Winston plays this game and if Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas play this game. I think to me there's just too many unknowns. And you think Seattle may have a hangover? No, they won't. They're playing on the road, guys, again, against the Saints. Then maybe the Saints come with something to prove. But if this number was 2.5, I'd take it. But this is 5.5. That's a lot of points to hang on the board for a team that isn't even that good. Guys, I have to take an avoid pick here because I don't fully trust Seattle. I did mainly trust them last week more, but I'm going to take Seattle plus 5.5 as an avoid pick because I respect Seattle. This team isn't trash, and New Orleans is alright at best. You can't be giving this many points to a decent team. Next up, we have the Texans going up against the Jaguars. Jaguars are 7-point favorites. Texans have had an interesting season. They had a 20-20 tie against the Colts, then they lost to Denver 16-9 and lost 20-20. Their last matchup against the Chargers, they gave up 20 points in the second quarter and lost 34-24. Mills had two TDs, 2 interceptions, 246 yards. Now on the Jaguars side, their first game they had lost against they beat Washington. Then they got beat up against the Colts. But right after that, it's been pretty smooth sailing for the Jags. They've looked pretty good. They had a huge win against the Chargers. And, I mean, they had a nice win. They almost won against the Eagles. They went up to a 14-0 lead. They were playing pretty decent. And then they lost 29-21. The Eagles are a really good team. They could be the best team in football. It's up for debate. Trevor Lawrence, he finished with 174 yards, 2 scores, and a pick. And Jamal Agnew had 4 catches for 50 yards and 2 scores. Now, for the Texans, they're 5-1 in their last 6 against the AFC and 4-1 in their last 5 against the AFC South. Jaguars, they're 3-11 in their last 14 against it on the grass, 5-17 in the last 22 in October. They're 3-9 against the spread in their last 12 overall. Here, guys, I think this is a smack city right here. Jacksonville's going to come back with vengeance after the loss against Philadelphia, and they're going to remember what happened. This team is the real deal. With Doug Peterson at the helm, they're playing really good football, and I think Trevor Lawrence comes to play. And Houston, they're not that good. They always let off at some point. There comes a time where they let off, and then that's how they're going to lose. Now here, the line is 7. Take the half a point and get to 6.5 because a lot of these games are won by 7 or 3. So that's very important. So if you try to get around those numbers, you book 3.5 is a horrible number. Get to 3. 7, try to get to 6.5. So if they win by 7, you win. So I'm going to take the Jaguars minus 6.5. Take half a point. See where you can get it from, which sportsbook you can get it from. Jaguars are too good of a team right now. I'm going to take an average pick on that one. Next up, we have the Titans taking on the Commanders. Now, these are 2 not-so-good teams, but the Titans enter this one 2-2 after a 7-point win against the Colts, and Washington's 1-5 following a 15-point loss to the Cowboys. Now, Tennessee, they start off their year rough, but they've picked it up. And with Washington, they've just been bad. I mean, they're 1-3 right now, and they couldn't even beat the Commanders. Wentz isn't looking that great. He had 170 yards and 2 picks. I mean, not that good. The Titans are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 in October. It's when they pick it up. And 2-6 in their last 8 after a straight up win. And 1-4 in their last 5 road games. Commanders are 0-4 in the last 4 in Week 5. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 in October. They couldn't cover a game last year. Guys, for this one, I'm taking Tennessee minus 2.5, making a money pick. Washington's trash. Tennessee's okay. They got Derrick Henry. Just create a few holes. Derrick Henry will run through it, and then they can run the play action pass through that. Carson Wentz is not that good. He's mediocre. He throws picks. This team isn't that good, Washington. Now, some people think they may bounce back. I don't think it's coming here. I think at home is not really a home field advantage. FedEx Field, Washington hasn't been very good at covering games at FedEx Field. So I'm taking Tennessee minus 2.5, making a money pick. I think Tennessee's finally starting to pick it up a bit. Derrick Henry's starting to look a lot better, and Washington just straight up is not that good. Next one, we got the Vikings -7 against the Chicago Bears. The Bears have lost 6 of the last 8 road games, and Justin Fields, he's completing 50.7% of his passes for 471 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Pretty bad. Money and Equimenia St. Brown have been okay. They combined for most of those receiving yards. I mean, rushing, they're really good. They have 177.3 yards per contest. Khalil Herbert's leading the way in that. And defensively, Chicago's allowing 19.3 points per game. Not too bad. Roquan Smith has led the Bears with 46 tackles. Gibson has 2 sacks, and Eddie Jackson has 3 picks. Now the Vikings, they've won 5 out of those 6 at home. Now Kirk Cousins, he has 6 TDs, 4 picks. Of course, Jefferson and Thielen leading the way. Cook came back. He played pretty well. Now on defense, Hicks and Darius Smith have been really solid. Hopefully Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith come back. Now for the spread, the Bears are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 on the road. The Vikings are 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 against the NFC, and 2-5 overall. Now the Bears are also 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 meetings. Here, guys, I'm taking the Vikings to win in the cover in an average pick. This line's at 7. Let's take it down one notch. Let's get to 6.5. I think the Vikings are a really good team here. They had a tough one against New Orleans, but I will tell you this Bears team is trash, and they're really bad on the road. On the road, these guys do not cover shit. I hate to swear there, but they don't cover anything right now. They're just not a good team. The Vikings, they haven't had that dominant game where they dominate a team. I thought it may come against the Lions, but the Lions have some fight in them. They're not too bad. The Bears' offense is horrible. They can't get anything going. I know the Vikings' offense will have something going. They're going to at least put 21 to 24 points. And I don't see the Bears putting up 14 or more right now in this game, especially if we have Harrison Smith back. The way the Vikings play, they play this soft shell defense zone, and the Bears won't have anything to respond for that because Justin Fields just isn't that good throwing the ball. Give me the Vikings to win in the cover, -6.5, making an average pick. Next up, we have the Chargers, who are -3 at home. Sorry, on the road. My apologies. Against the Cleveland Browns. Now, let me just scroll up here. Oh, wrong game. Why am I? Yeah. So it's been quite a weird one for the Cleveland Browns. They've lost games against the Jets and the Falcons, 2 teams that they would expect to beat, but then they beat the Steelers. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how they fare. And they lost to the Falcons. So I mentioned them. Whoops. But yeah, and they beat the Panthers, of course. Now, Cleveland's played a bunch of close games. 3 of its 4 matchups have been decided by 3 points or less, and now it finds itself as a home dog against the Chargers. Now, the Chargers, they nearly blew a lead against the Texans, but a late Justin Herbert touchdown pass helped them cover. To me, you see a lot of these games are 3, 2.5. I trust the Chargers to win in the cover in this one. I think Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. He's got Keenan Allen with him, and Jacoby Brissett isn't that good. The Chargers have a really good defense to mesh with this. I just think the Chargers get the job done here. They got Khalil Mack, Asante Samuel. This is a good team. Now, since all these games are usually close with the Cleveland Browns for some reason, dock this 3, get to 2.5. I can see the Chargers winning by 3 in this one. I think it's pretty realistic here. Now, it could even be by more. Now, I was worried that possibly Nick Chubb could run the ball through him, but the Chargers have a really good defense and a good interior line to stop them. So, guys, I'm taking an average pick here, and I'm taking the Chargers -2.5 here. I think they get the job done here in Cleveland. Next up, we have the 49ers, who we cashed off of, going up against the Panthers. 49ers are 5.5-point favorites. Now, the 49ers have split their last 8 road games. Garoppolo's been looking okay. He has 604 yards, 3 TDs, and a pick. And Deebo Samuel, man, what a touchdown against the Rams. Oh, my goodness. Looked pretty solid, and so is Brendan Ayuk. The running game is averaging 135 yards per contest, and Jeff Wilson Jr. is playing pretty well. Defensively, they have allowed 11.5 points and 234 yards per game. They're really good. Dre Greenlaw leads them in tackles. Nick Bosa has 6 sacks, and Talana Hufanga has 3 interceptions. They look really, really good. Now the Panthers, not been looking good. They have lost 8 of their last 9 home games. Baker Mayfield does not look like the truth, to say the least. Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore have had decent seasons, and they're only averaging 96.3 yards per contest. And I say only because they need to average more. McCaffrey does have 270 yards and a touchdown. Now, defensively, they haven't been too bad. They have allowed 21.3 points and 346 yards per game. And Frankie Laveau, he's led the Panthers with 332 tackles, and Brian Burns has 3 sacks, and Derek Brown has a pick. Now, the 49ers are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 against the NFC, while the Panthers are 7-20-1 in their last 28 home games against the spread. Not very good, to say the least. Now, I just look at this game and I think the number is too high. I think the 49ers probably get this done. But I think this comes a game where the Panthers actually show some fight in this one. And they crawl out some points. And they make this closer. And Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't put a lot of points on teams like this usually. He'll put 21, 24. Maybe the Panthers can pull a 20 on this and make this a close game. I just think 5.5 is too much. If we had the 49ers at 3.5 or 2.5, I would take the 49ers here. But I just can't. This number is too high, just like the Saints game. I still think the 49ers aren't that good, really, but they're still pretty good. So here, I'm going to take an avoid pick and take the Panthers plus 5.5 because I think this number is high. Sorry about that, but I'm just going to avoid this game entirely. Next up, we have the Cowboys going up against the Rams. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites here. Now, Dallas, they had a tough start to the season, but man, ever since that, they've been winning. Now, last Sunday against Washington, they scored points in every quarter. Cooper Rush put 223 yards and 2 touchdowns up on the board, and CeeDee Lamb led the receivers with 97 yards and a touchdown from 6 catches. Now, on the Rams side, they've been having some trouble. They lost to the Bills. They ended up winning against the Falcons and the Cardinals, but again against the 49ers, they were outscored 10-0 in the fourth quarter, leading to a 24-9 defeat. And Stafford seems like he only throws to Cooper Kupp and no one else. Cooper Kupp had 14 catches for 122 yards. But that's not a recipe for success. Stafford ended up throwing an interception that cost them the game, basically. Now the Cowboys, they're 5-0 in their last 5 against the spread in October, and they're 5-0 in their last 5 road games, and 19-7 in their last 26 overall. Now, the Rams are 31-15-1 against the spread in their last 47 against the NFC, and they're 1-4 in their last 5 at home. Looking at this one, guys, I think the 49ers, the Rams can pull out this one, but I still think this number is too much. I think 5.5 is too much. Cooper Rush will play a decent game, and Stafford hasn't proved that he can put up points against teams like the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys are due for a setback and a reality check, but I don't know when it is. For now, I have no choice right now but to take the Cowboys plus 5.5 right now. I think this number is pretty nice to cover. So I'm going to take an average pick on this one, and I'm taking the Cowboys plus 5.5 to cover. I just think the Cowboys will make this one relatively close or even win the game. Don't be surprised. The Rams really aren't that good without Odell Beckham and Von Miller. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 4-0, taking on the Cardinals. Eagles are -5. Now, the Eagles won 29-21 in their last time out against the Jaguars. They've been playing pretty solid. I got to give them credit. This may be the best team in the league. Now, they have Miles Sanders running the ball. Hurts, he has 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. They have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the receiving end with Dallas Goedert at tight end. On the defensive end, they look really solid with James Bradbury and Darius Slay at your corners. They have Hassan Reddick, T.J. Edwards, and let's not forget Fletcher Cox, who is an absolute beast. Man, this Eagles team is the real deal. Now the Cardinals, they're looking to find some consistency after alternating wins and losses, and they won last time 26-16 against Carolina. Now, Kyler Murray, he's been pretty solid. He has 991 yards, 5 TDs, and 2 picks. James Conner leads the Cardinals with 145 rushing yards. They've been really solid. On defense, Budda Baker has 32 tackles, and J.J. Watt has a pair of sacks. Now, Philadelphia is 5-11 against the spread in their last 17 following an ATS win, and 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games in October. Now, Arizona is 0-7 against the spread at home in their last 7. They're basically unbettable at home almost. Now, you think maybe that trend could end. You said that probably 2 games ago. Now this spread is favoring the Eagles more, but I think the Eagles have the talent to just blow them out the water. So I think the Eagles are going to get the job done here. Now the Cardinals are still a really good team, and Kyler Murray has to be accounted for. But the Eagles' defense is really good. They got Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick. All these guys I just mentioned, they are playing fantastic football. After they gave up a 14-0 lead, they only allowed 7 points after that in the next 3 quarters against the Jaguars, guys. I'm taking an average pick here, and I'm taking the Eagles to win and to cover this spread. It's going to be a good game, but I think this is the Eagles' game, really. I think they're going to be 5-0 after this one. Next up, we have Sunday Night Football. We have the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals have won 6 in their last 9 road games. They're finally starting to get on track. Burrow, he has 8 touchdowns and 4 picks. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they got the receivers to get it going. Their running game is averaging 89.5 yards per contest, with Joe Mixon leading the way. Defensively, they've been pretty solid. They've only allowed 17.5 points per game. And Logan Wilson leads the Bengals with 26 tackles. They have Trey Hendrickson and Von Bell. Now, Baltimore, they've lost 5 straight home games. Lamar Jackson has 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman lead the team in receiving. I mean, Lamar Jackson is playing lights out. Now, their ground game has been averaging 142 yards per contest. Lamar Jackson leads the way in that. Defensively, they haven't been the greatest. They've allowed 25 points per game, and Marcus Williams leads the team in tackles. Justin Houston has 2 sacks, and Marlon Humphrey has 2 interceptions. Baltimore in their last game lost 23-20 against Buffalo. Late comeback. And Cincinnati got that Thursday Night Football win over Miami. Now, Cincinnati's going to have the rest advantage here. And they're 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 road games. And 10-2 against the spread in their last 12 overall. Now, Ravens, they're 11-27-2 against the spread in their last 40. It's going to be quite interesting, really, here how this game goes. But to me, I think, man, this is Baltimore at home. They're going to come back at home and get a win here. I think Lamar Jackson is just the real deal. He's going to show up this game. I'm making this a money pick. I'm taking Baltimore minus 2.5. Take off the half point and just watch Lamar Jackson in primetime football show up. Because the Cincinnati Bengals team struggled to start the season, and they're still not that good. Let's be realistic here. Now, Baltimore, they're going to be upset after that loss against Buffalo. They're going to show up in this game. And it's going to be Lamar Jackson time here on Sunday Night Football. Relax. Just get a cold one and enjoy this one because Lamar Jackson is going to show up. He's making a case for that contract extension. And it's going to show here, guys. I'm taking the Ravens minus 2.5 at home. Next up, we have the Raiders, who are 7-point underdogs against the Chiefs. Chiefs are minus 7. It's gone up to minus 7.5 in some books. The Raiders are looking to build on their first win of the season last year as they beat Denver 32-23. Carr threw for 1,338 yards, 6 TDs and 4 picks, while Josh Jacobs led the Raiders in rushing with 336 rushing yards. Devontae Adams has been starting to pick up on the offensive game, and Mac Hollins has been pretty good. On the defensive end, Max Crosby has 4 sacks and Divine Diablo has 38 tackles. Now, the Chiefs showed up in their last game against Tampa Bay. They won 41-31, and Patrick Mahomes showed out and had a game. I mean, they got Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Van-Scantling, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They're a pretty good team. Now, on the defensive end, Nick Bolton has had a great season and has 37 tackles, and L'Jarius Sneed has 3 sacks. Not too bad on the defensive end. Now, Vegas, they're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 on the road, and 1-4 in their last 5 overall. Kansas City is 6-2 in their last 8 home games, and 2-8 against the spread against a team with a losing record, and 5-0 in the under in the last 5 Monday Night Football games. Here, guys, I don't know what it is about Vegas, but when they come to Kansas City, they play a great game, and I expect it here. 7 points is too much right now, so I'm going to take it actually at 7.5 because some books have it at 7.5. That's a big difference to me because if Vegas loses by 7, we still win. But here, man, I think Vegas is the right play here. They just came off a big win. They're coming back home. Now, being at home makes a big difference. Monday Night Football, it's a great atmosphere. But I think Vegas plays a solid enough game to keep this one close, just like the Chargers did. I think they have the talent to do it. They have a great offense and a pretty solid defense to make this a relatively close game. And a lot of these games in the AFC South tend to be pretty close between the Chiefs against the Raiders or the Chargers. So here, guys, I'm taking the Raiders to cover here, plus 7.5. I'm going to take it as an average pick for Monday Night Football. So let's take a look at our picks here. So starting with the money picks, I got the Buccaneers at minus 8.5. We got the Dolphins at minus 3. We got the Lions at plus 3. We got the Titans at minus 2.5. And we got the Ravens at minus 2.5. On our average picks, we had the Broncos minus 3. The Giants plus 8. The Jaguars minus 6.5. The Vikings minus 6.5. The Chargers minus 2.5. Panthers versus 49ers under 39.5. That's my one total I'm going to take. The Eagles minus 5. The Raiders plus 7.5. And the Cowboys plus 5.5. Now, looking at our avoid picks, we got the Seahawks plus 5.5, the Panthers plus 6.5, and the Steelers plus 14. So we're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 underdogs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe 9 favorites. So relatively even. I think 8 favorites. Sorry. Relatively even. Sometimes I take too many favorites, but I want to make sure I balance it out and see which underdogs can really cover here. So hopefully we get back on track. I think this is the week we start to get back to our winning ways, get to a winning record. Hopefully we do. This is Christopher Smithies with SAG. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy watching NFL Spread Talk.